here to teach you all a lesson. Sometimes in life, horrible and unexplainable things happen. These things are a test of character. And I have character.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you guys are new to my channel, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to share. Today we're going to be getting into the Saturn series through the houses. So I'm going to be talking about Saturn 1 through 3. If you guys want to see Saturn in the second house, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel where I have a playlist, a specific video on talking about Saturn in the second house. Okay, let's get started. Saturn in the first house. Now, if you have this placement, I would have to say it's a very difficult placement to have. I think anything with Saturn, rather it be in any house, I feel like it's always going to be difficult because Saturn always wants to teach you a lesson. Now, Saturn in the first house, you guys can be very hard on yourselves. I don't know if you can critique yourself, if you guys are very, hard on your self-esteem, on how you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and it affects your self-esteem on how the way you feel. Saturn in the first house, you typically don't have an average childhood. Maybe when you were growing up, you had to take on a lot of responsibility. You weren't able to be a child. You had to grow up very fast and become an adult. So you missed out probably on your childhood because you had to grow up fast and actually become an actual adult and take care of responsibility. And because of that, I feel like in a way it kind of reminds you in a way like Michael Jackson. When he worked in the industry as a child, he worked all the time. We saw him grow up in the public eye, and then he became an adult and he tried to make up for it. Because of the loss of him not having a childhood, you can see as him being an adult, he wanted to create that Neverland ranch where it was like, and the way you would describe it is like Peter Pan syndrome. It's like he never grew up as really having a childhood, so he wanted to display it as an adulthood. So he tried to make up for it by creating that Neverland ranch, where you can tell with all the abuse and people were having accusations and stuff on saying that Michael did this. I think it was just because of the fact that he had a loss of a childhood. And who would do the same? If you had a loss of a childhood and you didn't really get to grow up at being experience of being a kid, you're going to make up for it as an adult. I think that's the reason why he did that. And Saturn in the first house, you guys were probably very responsible to take care of others. It probably was a lot of burdens on your plate. You were probably one to go towards of being responsible and taking care of everything. You probably growing up, and even now maybe there's a possibility that you come off and give this expression, because it's being Saturn being in the first house, you probably give off this expression of being cold, reserved, and stern. Okay, people can perceive that as of you. Saturn also restricts your ability to display your emotions, either it be good or bad emotions. Saturn doesn't allow you to really deal or sit with your actual emotions. You probably will over time, again, because Saturn is the type of person, once you learn your lesson, probably over time you'll gain more self-confidence within yourself, and you'll probably feel better about yourself inside and out. Saturn teaches you particularly to be self-reliant on yourself. You can't rely on a lot of people. You're not allowed to rely on your family and your friends. You have to rely on yourself ultimately all the time. So a lot of times you can't rely on asking other people for assistance and help, because Saturn wants you to be more self-reliant and be independent and being able to handle situations and problems or whatever Saturn throws at you. They want you ultimately to take responsibility of it and take care of it. Saturn in the first house wants you to be a provider. Saturn puts a lot of responsibility on your plates. And as growing up, you probably didn't have a lot of time for friends, you know, social activities. You probably didn't have time to have a romantic relationship. you had a lot of responsibility to deal with. So you didn't have time to fool around. You didn't have time to have fun. You didn't have time to play. Saturn wanted you to be very responsible. But I believe as Saturn starts to lose that restriction off of you as you get older, I think, and you learn the lesson, Saturn becomes less restrictive on your emotions. Probably as you get older, you'll be able to express your emotions more better, and you won't be as responsible. Saturn will allow you to loosen up, be able to have fun, enjoy life, be able to sit back, relax, and enjoy life to the fullest. Because after a while, Saturn will look at it like you've learned your lesson, and now I can give you exactly what you want, and that is to give me a break and let me have fun in life. Saturn in the 3rd house. Now, this placement is very hard and very difficult to have. Saturn put a lot of limited and blockages in your 3rd house, and it delayed your ability to be able to express yourself. Growing up, you may have felt very hard on your ability to express your thoughts and communicate effectively. Also, connecting with others. You probably weren't able to really build connections with other people by really expressing true meaning into your thought processes. You may have spoke less. Maybe you were a shy child. Maybe you were more introverted. But over time, if you learn the lesson that Saturn is trying to teach you and master it, but with confidence, you will be able to speak up and express your true self. At times growing up, you may have felt like making friends was quite difficult. If you didn't even have the ability to express and talk, then it's gonna not allow you to be able to have or make relationships like, friend relationships, because you have to communicate with people. That's how you learn to build connections with people. You may even felt like when you were growing up in your childhood, feeling very awkward and out of place when you're around strangers or just acquaintances. Just to make chit chat was very hard for you to do. You may feel like when you were growing up, you felt very isolated, alone, cold, and very depressing in your immediate surroundings. You could have felt very scarred in your childhood. Maybe when you were growing up, you probably had a speech problem. Maybe you needed to go to a speech therapist. Maybe you could have had a speech impediment. Maybe you stuttered. You probably, and by that, you had a hard time being able to express yourself. And with that, it caused you to have a deep fear of not being able to be heard or allowing people to listen to you. You probably had a hard time in school, and as a result of that, people truly did misunderstand you. You felt very lonely, but over time, with great effort and a lot of hard work, you will be able to express your thoughts with great confidence once you've mastered and learned that lesson Saturn was trying to teach you. Saturn in the 4th house. Now, if you have Saturn in the 4th house, this is not an easy placement to have. You have a lot of hardships, especially when you have a family that feels quite cold growing up as a child. You could have felt very unloved, a feeling that didn't provide you with your emotional and security needs. You had an extremely tough relationship with your parents or caregivers. Saturn will teach you, and particularly, how to create a happy, loving atmosphere with your family, especially when you become an adult. Saturn in the 4th house. You felt like you had a lot of responsibility. You could have had so much responsibility that you were taking care of your own parents. You could have been the person, the caretaker that had to take care of all the responsibility in the house. Very important for a Saturn in the 4th house. You need to be able to figure out your past, okay? You won't be able to move towards your future if you don't heal from your past. You need to learn how to forgive yourself and forgive others what happened into the past and what you have experienced so that you can move forward towards the future. By doing this will allow you to be able to create the life that you've always wanted. Saturn in the 4th house. You have a strong tide towards the past. You may even collect old things, have things from the past that you've had for years. It's hard for you to give up these possessions because they have something that has an emotional bond towards these items, some type of tie towards the past. You like things to stay the same. If things can stay the same, you would like things to stay forever. You feel strongly responsible for your family and even what happens to your family. If something happened or if something goes wrong, you'll feel obligated and responsible for what has happened to them. Saturn in the 4th house, you need to learn that the past is the past. You can learn from the past to heal, but you also have to learn to better your future and to make a strong future. You need to learn to move forward in life. You want to be able to achieve the life that you've always wanted, and you need to learn to look towards the future and not the past.